Jay. So here we are, starting a new journey. Two books in parallel. So it's something new for Meher Baba Awakens, but let's give it our best. We will start with the heart journey, the stories journey, the experiences journey, the love journey, the journey to understand, as I said in my uh, reminder message a few minutes back, how to love him. We have to learn that from what Baba has, what Mehra has shown us. Right, Mehra was the example of that. So with that, let's get started. But before that, Ashokji, you want to start with my wish?
Definitely. My wish,
Our Meher Baba ki jai, please.
Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai, my wish, the lover has to keep the wish of the beloved. My wish for my lovers is as follows. 1. Do not shirk your responsibilities. 2. Attend faithfully to your worldly duties, but keep always at the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. 3. When you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. 4. Be resigned to every situation and think honestly and sincerely. Baba has placed me in this situation. 5. With the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. 6. I say with my divine authority to each and all that whosoever takes my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last moments. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when you when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now. Even if you take my name only once every day, you will not forget to remember me in your dying moments. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Jai Baba, nice to see Meher Kiran and Bhushan. I've had a fun week in the last 7 days. So a lot of Baba meetings. So I attended Vidya Garu's daughter's wedding. I attended a 75th birthday of um, um, uh, Venkobarao in Bangalore. Then I met Meher Kiran. Yesterday I met Meher Krishna. So I've been having lots and lots of Baba conversations, just as some context. Unlike the dry desert days of Dubai, where the Baba conversations were largely virtual. So I've had my gush of love experiences in the last week. Thank you all for that. Nehaji, Jai Baba. So yeah, so I think before we start, just some quick um, uh, housekeeping. So I have already extended an invitation for all of you to experience all the boards that are there in the workspace. So right now I'm showing you discourses. And the way you are going to track discourses for this reading is I've kind of simplified it. All you have to do is hit the filter button and select. Please note this carefully, and I'll do it slowly and keep this in mind so that it's useful for you when you want to track any of our readings in discourses for tomorrow. So just go to filter on the top and pick the label 23 reading, right? 23 reading. So that will tell you what we have completed reading. So I put a label every time we finish a particular chapter. So right now we have done only one, like we recollect from last time. We will continue from that point on later tomorrow. But basically, let's go to Mehera now. Mehera, again, there are the trust copies of the e-library links I've put here. So anybody wants that, please pick it up from here. I will be updating the annotated version, the online copy with our comments and highlights and where we start, where we stop with the comments. That copy is also available for public here. You can't upload to that location, but you can fetch the latest copy at any time. Just come here, copy link. So just click on the highlight here, copy link, and you should be able to open it up on your browser and actually see my copy, right? My copy is a combined copy so that we don't have to go through 3 different files. So just FYI, some housekeeping logistics, and then with that out of the way, we can get to the reading. God Meher Baba ki jai. Any thoughts, any reactions before we start?
Looks like we have some new people. Maybe you should introduce before starting.
I think we did that. We did that last time, so I don't want to repeat. Bhushan is from Bangalore. Ravi with Neha ji, you know. Ashish, you know.
Okay.
Kiran, Meher Kiran is new. Yeah.
Meher Kiran
Kiran is
Virginia.
From, no, he's from Bangalore, originally from Andhra.
I met this Meher Kiran this morning in Sanskara's meeting. Same.
Yeah, I know that Kiran. No. That's the Fort Lauderdale Kiran, right? You're talking about? Not that. He's the Meher Kiran here is Meher Kiran Kolluri, who lives like 5 minutes away from my place, and I did not know this, and I met him 2 days back. Yeah. So.
Oh, that's great. Welcome.
Bhushan,
welcome.
By the way, Meher Kiran, right now I'm in Chennai.
My sister talks a lot about Bhushan.
Oh yeah, he's the pillar of Bangalore and a pillar of support for Geeta ji. Absolutely. So let's start the journey with the book. So as I said, I have combined the 3 files into one file for convenience, so that when we search, when we refer, it's easier. And this copy is also out there. So we will start with reading the front part of the book. Any volunteers to read? Please come by. Maybe I'll start and read for the first few minutes. The chapters are the first glimpse, Sakuri 1922, and then is based on the various phases of Mehera's life. So 1922, 1907 to 1921, childhood, and then awaiting Baba's call, early 1922 to 1924, and so on and so forth. So we'll just read the foreword because it's a collection of messages, actually. I mean, it's put together. It was not written as a biography, but it's biographic in nature. So let's read the foreword. Foreword is by Mani Baba's sister. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Foreword by Mani S. Irani. Meher Baba, the divine beloved of all hearts, has called Mehera his beloved. I'm sure his lovers must wonder what this can actually mean. As Mehera's constant companion throughout our life with Baba, I can be said to be entitled to answer this unspoken question insofar as words can be entitled to speak for the heart. My words can only try through this introduction to Mehera's book, which gives a glimpse of her unique life and role in this avataric advent. As Sita was for Ram, Radha for Krishna, Mary for Jesus, for this advent of Meher Baba, it is Mehera who plays the leading role. This role of being the chosen counterpart to the God-man amounts to the highest, purest, most spiritual relationship consisting of a divine love which the world cannot imagine. This love between Baba and Mehera is an inner realm which has nothing to do with love as defined in the world's dictionary. In these times, when the outer has become the altar of worship, when the wrapping of a gift often receives more attention than its contents, it is natural that everything concerning love should be translated into the external, the physical. But do not make that mistake about Mehera's relationship with Baba, or, for that matter, about any of us living with Baba. The keynote of our life with Baba was purity, and Baba was very, very particular and strict about it. He never allowed the slightest compromise in this regard. So our relationship with Baba and with each other was always totally innocent of physical involvement. You could even say that we were as children together around Baba. Easterners, Westerners, young and old, Baba kept us like children in this respect and shaped that childlike quality of life, which leads to true purity of heart, involving self-forgetfulness and self-sacrifice of the highest order. And so, just as Mehera is Baba's beloved, she is also his child in the spiritual sense. The absolutely clear mirror of Mehera's immaculate heart, which Baba took great pains to keep unclouded by the dust of the world, reflects Baba's image, the image of the divine beloved as none other can. From the beginning and throughout her life with Baba, Mehera's status as his beloved grew obvious to us in many ways. Her place was foremost in all things concerning Baba. All personal privileges in attending to Baba's form were hers. Combing his hair, trimming his mustache, cutting his nails, seeing to his clothes, and all things concerning his precious person. Let me give you an example of Baba's relationship with Mehera that clearly indicates her special position in the kingdom of his love. When we would be seated at the dining table, it would be Mehera who had the privilege of serving Baba. And when Mehera would offer him something from her plate, something she knew Baba was partial to, like a piece of cheese or some such delicacy, Baba would taste it to please Mehera and return it to her saying, "No, Mehera, you eat it. It will be just the same as if I am eating it." Another example of Mehera's number one position among us, while on occasion Baba would offer his hand to us to kiss, it was he who kissed Mehera's hand. We witnessed this natural gesture many a time at Mehrazad and Guru Prasad, and happily it is captured on one of the films for all of you to share. Repeatedly, Baba has said, "If Mehera is happy, I am happy." He not only said it, but he demonstrated it in a number of ways. I would notice that Baba always agreed with anything that Mehera stated. If she said, "Baba, such and such is so, isn't it?" he would reply, "Yes, it is so." Baba always agreed with whatever Mehera said, even when, to my mind and logic, it seemed that what Baba was agreeing to could not possibly be so. Although I never said anything at such times, one day I became exasperated enough to tell him, in Mehera's absence, "Baba, I guess if Mehera were to say that the world is square, you would agree." Baba looked at me and solemnly nodded. "Yes, I would." Baba's reply stunned me, and it taught me a lesson as to how one pleases one's beloved. Playing the role of the lover in his relationship with Mehera, Baba was showing us how we should please Baba, our beloved. If Baba were to tell us that the world is square, our answer, as befitting a true lover, should be, "Yes, Baba." If in the midst of bright daylight he were to say it is dark, we should not only say, "Yes, Baba," but run and fetch the lantern just as a disciple and a slave of an old-time master had done. So it is that Mehera, in the eternal role of beloved to the divine beloved, gave Baba the opportunity to play the role of lover and show us how it should be done. This drove home to me his immense love for us. By taking on the role of lover, the beloved demonstrates to us how we should please him. Every action of Baba's was multi-purpose. Even the most casual thing that Baba did not only affected each of the persons around him, but also had universal reactions and repercussions. So it was with Baba Mehera's relationship, a pure mountain stream bubbling from the heart of the world. It is not only for Mehera, but for all to drink from. Anyone who misconstrues this relationship, who allows even a passing thought or doubt from a narrow mind to adulterate its purity, deprives himself from receiving of that wellspring of true love. On 31st January 1968, 1 year to the day before he set aside his lovely form, although at that time we had no idea of the significance of that date, Baba initiated a more public role for Mehera, who had always lived a life completely sheltered from the world. Baba kept all of the women who stayed with him strictly apart from the men, but in Mehera's case, it was again very special. For many years, she could not even hear the name of any man, even for example, when the newspaper was read out. Her cloistered life was the most singular. Not only had Baba given her the all-time restriction not to be touched by men, a restriction which continues even now, but not once had Mehera ever met or greeted or even seen at close range any of the men Mandali who lived with Baba. But on 31st January 1968, exactly a year before the time when Mehera would perforce begin to meet Baba's lovers in the physical absence of her beloved, Baba asked Mehera to stand beside him on the porch of the women Mandali's residence, now known as Mehera's porch, and to greet the men Mandali for the first time. He wanted her to see the men and say Jai Baba to them. And after the years and years of her sheltered life, Mehera was understandably nervous. Baba told her, "Don't be nervous. You'll be holding my hand. I'll be holding your hand." Baba had Mehera wear a sari for the occasion, and in his frail health, he sat on a chair on the porch while she stood beside him, her hand in his. All the resident men Mandali of Mehrazad, along with those from Ahmednagar and Mehrabad, like Adi, Padri, Ramju, Chagan, etc., silently walked up to the porch towards Baba and Mehra and stood before them. Then, as directed by Baba, Mehra greeted them with folded hands and said, Jai Baba. Little did we know then that with this totally unprecedented event, Baba was planting the seeds for the part Mehra would play after he dropped his body. We went to Pune in 1969 for that incredible great darshan in Guru Prasad when Baba's promised children came for the darshan of their unseen beloved. Each darshan morning, we would see Mehra stand up and come to the microphone, looking up to see the large hall full of mostly new Baba lovers, and she would greet them with a shy but clear Jai Baba. As you know, she continues to do so day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year, as countless more of his lovers have joined those beginners' ranks towards the flood tide of humanity which will come to Baba. Baba is the sun and source of all things, and whatever we offer to him has been received by us from him. By asking us to love him, he's giving us the love to love him with. This was even so with beloved Baba's last message to Mehra, shortly before he dropped his body. Baba asked me to take a message to Mehra. He told me to tell her, Mehra, be brave. And although it seems that Baba was asking something from Mehra with these words, in actuality, Baba was giving her the courage with which to be brave. And because it came from him, she was able to be brave during that most difficult period after he left his form. And so, when we were among the crowd of his lovers on Mehrabad Hill during that unforgettable week of February 69, we saw Mehra greeting the Baba lover who came, embracing the women, comforting them with the assurance of his continued presence. Many came from South India, even not knowing their language was no barrier, just Baba, Baba, Baba. The simple exchange of the beloved's name between them and Mehra proved ample communication for their adoring hearts. Along with our pain of separation, Baba's presence grows stronger with time. It is natural that his presence should be particularly with Mehra, whose heart he has made so pure as to perfectly reflect him. Beloved Baba has said of his beloved, Mehra loves me as I should be loved. This divine romance of infinite beauty will be sung and celebrated throughout the world, inspiring lovers of God to aspire for Mehra's one-pointed love for the beloved God-man. Money. Money
Wow,
is
that is one of the most best ever, most loving forward I've ever read in any book.
most filled with love and
Full of
I,
love and oh my God.
and I'm itching to say this. I have to say, like many of, I don't know about the others on this call, but in the early days, I also had intense struggle in understanding this relationship, and I was very new to Baba. So, and honestly, I had read words to this effect, but nothing as moving and as elaborate as this message. But for a brief while, I of course went through a phase where I felt I was not able to comprehend the nature of this relationship. And apologies, Baba, and uh, you know, we all have to understand and comprehend. And I think we may have a much better understanding and comprehension about this relationship, which is example for the rest of us, right? Any other thoughts? Any reactions?
It's a
You know, Baba said that Mehera is God. She loves Baba so much. She's filled with so much of love that Baba said she is God.
True. And I think it's more than that. These little things that were even mentioned in this forward gives you the extent of the love, and also the practical ways of how you should give everything up for the beloved, right? And divine love is only possible when you operate at that realm, at that pace, at that intensity, at that purity. And as humans, and as humans with other love experiences that we may have had, that we received from our mother, love that we give our children, love that we give our spouse, love that we experienced, this is something at a different level. And the elaborate effort Baba took, and the conditions that he imposed on her, and the way she handled it is something that's unique, and as she said, is historic, right? Ashok, you were saying something.
yeah. I was saying that this is from love to divine love. It's the the true essence of divine love, and it's explained very well. I mean,
True.
on that spectrum of love, we all, as you also said, elaborated. So it's the the highest of high love can go, and that's the divine love, pure love.
Correct. Absolutely. So I think uh, our experience as humans also is that we struggle to understand this emotion. At least I speak for myself. As men, especially coming from India, our ability to respond and be expressive from a love standpoint is actually very low compared to the Western world, right? And probably expression of love is not that common. And I think even understanding and relating to receipt of love, being being the person receiving love, is something that we are. Uh, I mean, at least I'm speaking very much for myself. We struggle with that, right? So, but that's something that we have to move beyond and move to the realm of divine love. Okay, so let's continue. The others, feel free if there's any other thoughts and questions or
Jai Baba,
insights.
Jai Baba,
Jai Baba, Neha ji, boliye.
Jai Baba Kartik. This is a beautiful forward. Apart from this, Mehera was from the very beginning. She was associated with perfect masters like Upasni Maharaj, and before that Baba Jan. So her preparation, she was also immensely connected, and she had so many association with Baba Jan, and later on with Upasni Maharaj, with her mother. The entire journey coming to Baba was also very, very interesting. So I hope this book will be something to cherish for a long time. And it's a beautiful, to understand, to really understand Baba, how he really wants us to, to connect or to be with him. So thank you so much
Very
for
good point.
starting this book. Thank you.
No, very good
Thank you.
point. He did immaculate preparation with her, right? So from the
Yes.
things that happened before she came, which we will read
Yes.
more in detail, but very good point. So It gives us the special role that she had in the Advent. And maybe at the end of the book, we may have a more better understanding. Of course, she was God. There's no, I mean, in the same sense that all of us are in some way in that journey. But let's probably have a discussion towards the end in trying to explore what else we can learn from this relationship. But first, let's try to understand, immerse ourselves in this, and experience this together. Yeah. Okay. So I will probably rotate the reading. So I'll just read out this message from Mehera, and then the first chapter, somebody can volunteer. Beloved Avatar Meher Baba ki jai, may we be worthy of your most beautiful, precious love, Baba darling. May we keep loving you more and more through good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And may we please you by remembering you always. Mehra. Very simple, but very profound. I'll reread it slowly. Beloved Avatar Meher Baba ki jai, may we be worthy of your most beautiful, precious love, Baba darling. May we keep loving you more and more through good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And may we please you by remembering you always. Mehra. So the focus is not just loving him, but by remembering him always. Right? Okay. So first glimpse, the first chapter. Ravi, you're okay to read for a bit?
Yeah, I can read.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. Over to you. Jai Baba.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. The first glimpse. Sakori, 1922. The very first time I saw beloved Baba was in Sakori at Upasni Maharaja's ashram in 1922. I was 14 years old. At that time in Sakori, he was known as Merwanji. My mother already knew of Baba and also Baba Jan from her sister Frini Masi, Padri's mother, and she wanted my sister and me to love and follow a master. 2. But we had no idea of spirituality or masters, and she could not explain these things to us. How can you explain how to love and have faith in a master? You have to feel it. She had heard of Upasni Maharaj and that Merwanji had been at Sakori with him, so she visited his ashram in Sakori with her sister Frini Masi to see how it would be for us to stay there. Liking it, she decided to take us there immediately so that we could be in and feel the atmosphere of a perfect one. You will like it there, my mother told us. The countryside is lovely, and there are some young Brahmin girls there who sing beautifully and will be company for you. She was trying to tempt us into going to Sakori. We were young and did not feel attracted to going, but of course, we wanted to please her, so we went. We arrived at Sakori Chitali railway station at 1 o'clock at night. It was almost deserted, and we girls waited while my mother searched for a tanga to take us to the ashram, which was 10 miles from the station. It was still dark when we arrived at Upasni Maharaja's place, where we were met by Frini Masi. She had stayed on there while my mother had come for us girls, and we shared the room she had been given to stay in. We were very tired and sleepy, and so we rested a little. And in the early morning, we got up, washed, and had breakfast. Then my mother told us, the sun is up. and it's time for you both to go and see the temple. So my sister and I went off hand in hand, but the place was quite new to us, and we did not know which way to go. We wandered for some time and then went into a porch and into a country yard that was surrounded on
Courtyard.
three sides. Huh?
It was a courtyard. We wandered for some time and then
A courtyard and was surrounded on three sides by two-storied buildings. When a young Brahmin girl, who we later discovered was Gangi, Upasni Maharaja's niece, came running to us, we asked her to kindly show us to the temple. She took us to a very big doorway set in green lattice walls, which was the entrance to a superstructure that covered this tiny temple. The temple was really very small and was inside the superstructure at far end from the entrance. We had barely crossed the threshold of the superstructure when we heard footsteps outside on the wooden staircase of a nearby building. Upasni Maharaja's niece said, "Wait, come quickly. Merwanji is coming. You must see Merwanji." We stepped outside without seeing the temple and stood there while Baba came down some steps very quickly, quite close to us. Nobody had told us about Merwanji. Nobody, not even my mother. She felt that we would not understand. Baba was so near and walking very fast. He was very, very thin, and his face was also very thin from many fasts and from not caring for himself. And he was very beautiful. He was wearing not a sadra but a pirhan, a white top with pajama pants that Mohammedans used to wear. Baba did not look towards us. He looked straight ahead, so we only saw his profile, and we saw his very fair skin and his brown curly hair that was quite short, only about 1.5 inches long, and quite matted. A colored kerchief was tied around his head. So we had a long glimpse of him while he walked quickly away from us. We had come to visit Upasni Maharaj, but we saw Baba first, before we saw even a photograph of Upasni Maharaj or Sai Baba. At that time, we did not know how blessed we were. Maharaja's niece then took us inside the superstructure and showed us the temple. It was carved in stone, and it was so tiny that there was only space enough inside for one person to stand. Only a Brahmin priest was permitted inside the temple. Side by side were two big pictures, one of Upasni Maharaj and one of his master, Sai Baba, who was no longer living. It had a very nice atmosphere. After seeing the temple, we met a Brahmin woman called Durga Mai, a disciple of Sai Baba, who had been told by Sai Baba that when he dropped his body, she should serve Upasni Maharaj. She was a very important person in the ashram. She lived in a hut with a thatcher roof just outside the temple superstructure. Then Gangi introduced us to another woman called Subhadra,
Subhadra.
who, like Durga Mai, had also been a disciple of Sai Baba and had been sent by him to Upasni Maharaj. In this way, Upasni Maharaja's niece introduced us to the whole ashram. My sister and I returned to our room, and when at noon the Aarti bell rang, we all gathered around the small temple around under the superstructure. All the men stood on one side and all women on the other, and several artis were sung. One arti that was always sung was, we found out later, the arti that beloved Baba had composed in Gujarati for Upasni Maharaj. After Aarti, we were given a tiny piece of prasad. This was now the time for us all to go to Upasni Maharaja's hut. So the group of men went out the front door of the superstructure, and the group of women and children went out the back door. Many were visitors who had come for few days from places like Bombay and Pune. We went through an old handmade gate and walked down a lovely path which led through a mango orchard that had some young and some old and shady trees to Maharaja's hut. We had never seen a hut like this. It was made from mud and stones with a thatched roof and a floor, not of a stone, but of stamped down earth. It was very clean and very nice.
I've got a question here. Anybody knows what is the aarti that Baba's composed for Upasni Maharaj?
You
Is
can
it
Google it.
Pujave?
Yeah,
Pujave?
yeah.
no,
I
no.
don't think. I'm not sure. I would like to check it out.
I'll just get the Aarti book and check once. Give me a few moments.
Sure.
There are few other Huma song also.
Yeah, here it is. I think
Yes.
Meera tribute to Sadhguru. No, but this is something else. It was Madhuvanti. These are not. No, and I'm not able to find something very quickly. So Sanjay ji is the musically inclined or the most musically inclined in our group. So I think this is a matter of some research and discovery.
Is by Baba. Pujave Aarti is written by Baba, and there's another Aarti which Baba had written for Upasni Maharaj.
So let's find out about that and share that with the group. And we'll also put that aarti out
there
there.
is one Aarti which Baba wrote for Upasni Maharaj.
Sure.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
anyone on the group can volunteer to find that. But when you find it, please put it up, share it with me. We can put it on Trello, whatever. Yeah. Because that's
Another
the
thing
idea of
which
doing
strikes
this
me
in.
when we read about Karthik. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Another thing that strikes me when reading about Mehera is pleasing him, which we normally do not read so much in other contexts. So that's something to think about and meditate upon. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Correct. Always think of how to please him. Beyond our pleasure, beyond our limitations, beyond our challenges, how to please him in everything we do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yes.
That's a good point.
So,
That's another.
yeah. Pleasing is we generally talk of love him, remember him. But ultimately the reflection of that in a practical sense comes to pleasing him, pleasing the beloved. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. Sure. So we stopped here. Very nice. So we can start. Maharaj was inside. Actually, we can rotate even. Anybody else wants to read? Bhushan, are you able to read for a bit? It's okay if you can't. You just jump in and unmute if you're okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm just walking, so not possible.
Okay, no problem. Mehera Kiran? Krishna, anyone? Ashish?
Yeah, I can read.
Okay, please start. Maharaj was.
Maharaj was inside, seated against a wall of the hut in such a way that he could look out a window and see who was entering the gate and coming down the path to the hut. All sat down inside, men on one side, women on the other. And we were in the front line. Maharaj saw that we were new, and he asked my sister and me when we had come and from where. Then he asked our names. I told him Mehera. Mehera, he said, that will be difficult for the Brahmin girl to pronounce. They were not used to it. I will give you the name Mira. It's the name of a saint, and from today we will call you Mira. So at time I was Mehera, which is Persian, at Sakori, Mira, which is Hindi, and in the convent school they had called me Mary, which is English. Then Maharaj's face brightened and he looked very pleased. We were all curious to see what he was looking at. It was Baba coming down the road towards the hut. Before entering, Baba, in respect, bowed to Upasni Maharaj at the threshold of the hut. Then he came in with his hands joined as we do when we pray, and he bowed again to Maharaj. I was very shy and I never liked to stare, so I was looking down when Baba entered. But then I said to myself, I must look. Baba was so very lovely standing there in front of Maharaj. Although his cheeks were hollow from many fasts, Baba's face was very beautiful. He had mustache, but it was not a full one as he had later on. Maharaj said to Baba, I am happy that you have come in time. Merwan, I was waiting for you. Wait outside for me under the shade of a mango tree, and I will come in a few minutes when I have sent the devotees home. So again Baba bowed and he left the hut without turning his back to Maharaj. He bowed again at the threshold and he went to sit in the shade of a mango tree. That was the second time that he saw beloved Baba that day, our very first at Sakuri. Maharaj then told everyone to take their leave. Quickly, he said. He was in a hurry to meet Baba, and after joining hands to him, we all left the hut. As we came out of the door, we glimpsed Baba sitting under the mango tree. We were somehow attracted to him, and Baba in white looked very lovely under the shade of that tree. Out of respect, we circled we circled the hut 3 times, and each time we came to the front, we could see Baba sitting under the tree. The Brahmin girl kept telling us, walk quickly, but we wanted to see how Upasni Maharaj will greet Baba. So we walked slowly down the path to the gate, and luckily the road was quite long. At the gate, we looked back again to see Maharaj come out of his hut with sackcloth around him and with his hand on his hip. He walked up to the Baba and sat down in front of him, very close to Baba. But they did not embrace, and then they began to talk. So that was that was our third glimpse of Baba that day. We returned to our room and had lunch. At the ashram in those days, the rooms were free and we had only to pay for our food. Many devotees ate at an inn run by a Brahmin woman, but we ate in our room. We, being young, were very hungry, so we ate well and enjoyed ourselves. After lunch, my mother, Freni Masi, my sister, and I sat talking in one room. These particular guest rooms at the ashram were all in a row and had no veranda. There was a little open ground in front of them, and then a road for tangas and ended a short distance from our room. People talking tangas to and from the ashram had to take this road near our room. Somebody raised the hand. Yeah.
Yeah, Shakti.
Yeah, see, I have a booklet. It says Aradhana, Prarthana, Vandana, and it acknowledges that Meher Baba ki Gujarati Aarti is Bujave. So,
Correct.
so I think that's how it is. I think Baba gave this Gujarati Aarti, and so I think we can construe or we can conclude that the Gujarati Aarti is Bujave.
It
Unless
is
somebody has,
supportive but not conclusive. So let's keep looking. See, Bujave is
Oh,
undoubtedly
yeah.
attributed to
So
Baba,
it's
but we want. Yeah, Nehaji. Yes.
uh, it is similar to it, or the same one has a different, antara or something like that. So let's check
Maybe.
it first. And
Let's check.
ha.
Yeah. Let's check. And let's ask people in the music, I mean, in the Aarti groups and bhajan groups, they may be familiar and they might have heard about it. And let's get citations and share so that we are sure of what we are sharing. But of course, thanks for the research and initiative, Ashokji.
So
By the way,
it
you're
is,
ready to read next, right?
only just want to say Sarvadhikar Surakshit. This has been approved by the trust, Avatar Meher Baba Perpetual Public Charitable Trust, Nagar. It's of course published by Chandrapur Center, but it has the approval of the trust. So anyway, this is something I got. It's in Hindi, but I thought that maybe I'll share with the group.
Sure, sure. Thanks for, like I said, the initiative and reaching out to this. Yeah. And keep looking and get that citation and reference for this. Yeah.
Yeah, I will.
Bhushan,
Yeah.
Bhushan
Yeah,
wanted to say
Bhushanji.
something.
Yeah, Bhushanji.
Yeah, Jai Baba, I think this Bhujav is composed in 24-25. What we are reading is quite early, might be 18-19. So first part, I'm sure it is 24-25 when Aarti is composed at Meherabad. And what
Okay,
we
so
are
this is
talking now
22.
is quite early. Yeah,
This is 22.
that is my.
So good point. Good point. So we have to find what is the Aarti that that was composed for Baba, right? Thanks for that input. Yeah.
Agreed, Karthik. This is an area of research. We'll have to.
Lord Meher. It must be Lord Meher.
Yeah, correct. It should be in Lord Meher. Yes.
Oh yes, good point, Nehaji.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Let me continue.
Ashish, yeah, please.
Suddenly, we heard the jingle of the horse bells of Tanga, and it stopped quite close to our room. Then we heard the voices of women laughing, happy sounds, and the sound of many footsteps coming quickly. We leaned out of our door and saw Baba walking very fast towards the Tanga, and many women running and laughing as they tried to keep up with him. There were Brahmin women, young and elderly also, and some children and some Parsi women too. Baba reached to Tanga, caught the Tanga rail, and jumped in. Baba, Baba, though so thin, was very quick and energetic in his movements. He sat in the Tanga, and now Baba's feet were on the footboard of the Tanga, where one's feet have to rest. All the women took advantage of this and rushing, they started to bow their heads at his feet. Baba was bending down and saying, "No, no, don't." Baba was talking at that time, and we could see him trying to stop them from doing this. But they were all hurrying and pushing one by one to bow down to him, as they knew that the Tanga would start at any moment. Baba turned to the Tangawala and said, come on, hurry up, hurry up." And the horse started to trot, and the younger girls began to run after the Tanga, trying to reach Baba's feet. Baba was saying, "No, no," but still they would not listen. They wanted to touch Baba's feet. That is called taking darshan, and to Hindus, it means to touch the Lord's feet. How else would you touch him? Then the Tanga turned and Baba left Sakuri, and the younger girls had to stop running and come back. We saw all this, but we did not have the sense to have Baba's darshan. It was not in our destiny to touch Baba's feet at that time. I had Baba's darshan first at Meherabad. So the very beginning of my story is my seeing Baba 4 times on that first day at Sakuri. The first time was at the entrance to the temple. He was so beautiful. Secondly, we saw Baba with his hands joined in respect in Upasni Maharaj's hut, looking very lovely standing in front of Maharaj. The third time we saw him sitting under the shade of the mango tree talking with Maharaj. And the fourth time was when he was leaving Sakuri in the Tanga and the woman tried to touch his feet. That was the Baba's last day at Sakuri while Upasni Maharaj was physically present. Their work, their work there together was completed, and we were so fortunate to have come that very day. We can say that seeing the face of the master is having darshan too, and we saw Baba 4 times that day. We had come to see Upasni Maharaj, but first we saw Baba. Our connection was with him. Our connection was with him.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the first chapter. So I think what's interesting here is how vividly she has recorded and remembers the instances, right? So obviously the first time she sees Baba itself, the impact is so special that she's able to so vividly remember the 4 meetings or 4 sites that she experiences of him in Sakori. And I think that that's surely not a coincidence that this was the last time Baba physically was in Sakori. So, and correctly that day, Mehera arrived there with family for the first time. So it's interesting. Interesting little things that we can all think about. Ravi, you want to say something?
I listened to this talk by Mehera. It is there in the Mandalay Hall talks.
Mhm.
I think the same thing there also somebody else recorded it, and it is there in Mehera's talks. Very beautiful
Correct.
to listen from her. She's such a powerful lady, next to Baba. So it'll be nice to listen to her.
I know what you're talking about. I'll find that link and add it on Trello. It's a good idea.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I remember listening to that, and the whole thing comes to life almost, right? When you're listening to her, her voice, like when we were reading this, I was reminded constantly of the visualization that I experienced when I heard her voice and her gushing enthusiasm when she was talking about this. So I will try to find that audio and put it up on Trello.
Other thing, Karthik just wanted to know, the whole book is written by her, right? She's the author of the book?
No, it's actually, so it's not, yeah, good question. So if you go to the website,
Nausharwan also wrote this. Nausharwan wrote this.
No, it's actually, I'll tell you how the way it is, it's a collection of messages and lectures that she has given and put together by Judy Judson. That's what I remember. We'll just look at the.
Right? No.
So maybe he also had a role. But clearly the name was Judy Judson. I think I will just read that out. That's a good idea.
Would it be fair to say that it is a compilation?
Yes, it's a compilation. Correct. That's the word I was struggling to get. Thank you, Mr. ChatGPT.
No, Baba.
No, you are always spot on.
Judy is that tall lady American, right? She used to be by her side.
Oh, what's her name?
Compilation. There it is. Janet Judson. So it's not Judy. Sorry, Janet Judson. Janet Judson with the assistance of Shelley Marich. And I will quickly read this as well. Compiled from talks and original tape recordings of Mehera J. Irani. Dust jacket notes. This is the jacket notes at the back of the book. Whenever God comes on earth as man, as Ram, for example, or as Krishna, as Jesus, or in this time as Meher Baba, it is always the case that one person among his close one plays a special role as his most important disciple. This is the role of the divine counterpart, the beloved of the divine beloved, whose love for him is unique in its purity and its one-pointedness. This is the role of Sita, of Radha, of Mary, and this time of Mehera. Mehera Baba has declared that this long heralded and much expected advent, the Kalki avatar for Hindus, the Maitreya Buddha for Buddhists, the second coming for Christians, is the last divine incarnation in the cycle of cycles. As such, Meher Baba has indicated that his manifestation on earth will accordingly be the greatest in its scope and impact. Perhaps one of the first signs of the special significance of this advent can be found in the most exquisite beauty of Mehera's life with Baba and in the opportunity which he has given his lovers to partake of the inspiration of that life. For in her role as the divine companion to the God-man, Mehra has become a divine reflection of him, providing a glimpse of what true love can be through her example and her stories of her life with him. This book then provides a glimpse of Mehra and through her of love itself personified in the form of perfect man who in this age is known as Meher Baba. So this is this whatever I read in quotes starting from here is basically the dust jacket note. But I came here to point out this one. So it's not a autobiography. It's not even a biography, but its nature is biographical. But it's a compilation of speeches and talks and recordings. Yeah. But good question and good we considered that. Okay, let's go to the second chapter. Ashokji, you want to read for some time?
Definitely.
Jai Baba. Thanks, Ashish.
Childhood. Forests, jungles, and government bungalows, 1907 to 1915.
So if you see the timing, now after the first chapter, we are going to the beginning of her life. So 1922 is the first chapter because that's important from a Baba perspective. That incident is covered first. Second chapter is her early days of schooling and childhood. Sorry for the interruption, please.
That's a fair point. In 1907, when Baba was 13 years old and attending St. Vincent's High School in Pune, Mehra was born in Sukkur, now in Pakistan, the younger daughter of Jahangir and Daulatmai Irani, both of whom were from Zoroastrian families settled in Pune. In January 1914, when Mehra was 6 years old, Babajan kissed Baba on the forehead and he experienced infinite bliss. My stories are not about spiritual matters. Baba told me that he has given everything in his books. What I can tell you about is our life with Baba, what happened when we were with him. It's a very long story. I was born in Sukkur, a city now in Pakistan, then in northwestern British India. Both my parents' families were from Pune, and my father had a high post as a senior forest officer in the Indian Forestry Service. We lived in Sukkur for 4 years, after which we were transferred to other places. My father's last posting being to Junagadh in Gujarat. By we, I mean my mother, my father, and my sister Piroja, whom Baba later renamed Frenny, who was 5 years older than I. My parents had a son too, but he had died at a very young age before I was born. In Sukkur, we had all the conveniences of a very comfortable government bungalow with many servants, a cook, bearers, grooms, and a sweeper, and also a washerman, all staying in our compound. I remember too that we had our own carriage, a 2-horse Victoria.
Okay, so it ends. The para ends there. Victoria is basically a name given to a type of cabin. So I mean a type of carriage. So here are some photographs. So we'll dwell on it and see it closely.
Victoria
Mehra's parents.
Karthik, could you check this? Sukkur is in POK.
Good point.
I think this is the place where currently there are a lot of protests happening in Pakistan. That's the area.
What's going on in the last few days is Gilgit,
Sukkur.
Pakistan, Gilgit, Baltistan.
No, Gilgit is the
which
overall
is-
area, but in that area there are many cities, right? So Sukkur is a town which is there actually. If you can see, if not now, maybe later.
Yeah. Right now
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Maybe you're driving, so you can't see it. But yeah, that's where Sukkur is. So yeah, you're right. Probably not POK. Further south. So It's not POK or Gilgit-Baltistan. So it's north of Hyderabad, near Kharpur and Larkana, and I think it is in Sindh rather than. It must be Sindh. Yeah. So that's Sukur for those of you who want to. Yeah, Sindh. It is Sindh. So it's not border states or POK. Yeah, I mean, it's border, but bordering Rajasthan. Okay, so here's the photograph of Mehra's parents, Daulat Mai and Jahangir Irani, as a young child. Yeah, please.
I continue.
Please continue. Ashok.
Those were such happy days. My sister and I were.
1 second, I think I'll make it.
No issues.
See that photograph in a slightly magnified way. Yeah, so you can tell it's Mehra from eyes and the facial features, but this is a very young photograph. Yeah. Yeah.
Those were such happy days. My sister and I were very much loved by our parents, and especially by my father, who enjoyed playing with us and spoiling us and seeing us happy. He was a fine looking man, very tall and with a broad chest and good posture. And his nature was very fine too. So big hearted and loving was he, and full of energy and playfulness. I cannot remember him being tired. He was fond of jokes and games, and he also loved music. While he was gentle and soft hearted, he was also very brave. My father truly did not know the meaning of fear. Because he loved people, we had many friends and relatives visiting us from Pune and from other places too. My father used to take our guests sightseeing around Sukkur. Sometimes we visited a Hindu temple on an island in the river. We would cross.
Yeah.
We would cross the river in a small boat, and I remember there were monkeys and peacocks roaming around the island. When we came to the temple, we took off our shoes and walked barefoot in a carpeted room full of pictures of holy men. Outside the temple, there were marble steps leading down into the river where we would watch fish being fed. One fish had a golden nose ring, and that sight fascinated us children. Then I remember going to a mosque where the mullahs would light incense sticks and offer prayers, and then bring out this silken box. What do you think was inside this box? Another box. And inside that, another box. And finally, in the innermost box was a hair of Prophet Muhammad. As we can see in Baba's room at Mehrazab, we have his beautiful hair preserved in plexiglass. But in those days, there was no such thing, and this was their way of keeping it airtight.
I think there is a mosque that I think is in POK, where again there is a relic of Prophet Muhammad. I think again it's a nail or a piece of hair. So this must be somewhere in Sukur. Just let's see if we are able to find any temple reference that he says, right? Hold on.
So when you go to Singapore, Karthik, there is Buddha's tooth there.
Oh, really? Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a temple. Well, temple-like thing.
Uh-huh.
And they show it through a video. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But I've seen the tooth relic in Kandy, Sri Lanka. Right? There also they have.
Go there. Jai Baba,
Okay.
Karthik will go there next weekend. We'll show you Buddha's tooth.
Done. Look forward. Look forward.
That's why out of blue, Raviji said this.
Done. Yeah, I know. Yeah. There's nothing
Just call
that's
me
out of the blue.
Ravi. Just call me Ravi now, Ravi G. Those are all people with respect and all.
Okay,
Ravi's the
Ralph.
dude, the mood, the
Okay, Ralph,
Ravi's the
let's do
dude.
it that way.
Yeah, he's
Rav
the
is
dude
good.
with the mustache. Yeah, you got it. I mean. Okay.
Yeah, I love to show my mustache.
Yeah. Okay, so let's continue. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes too.
Our guests were taken to sample toddy, a light, refreshing drink made fresh from the toddy palm, or taken for a picnic. Or we would go to a lovely lake in a park very close to our house. Our bungalow was on a hill, and the park was at the foot of this hill. Part of my father's work was to inspect the forest in this area, and when he went on tour, we often went too. Sometimes, even when we were transferred, we traveled by camel. There was no motor cars or tongas in Sukar. It was all forest and sand with very little rain. Instead of rainstorms, we had sandstorms. That caravan was such a sight. Our tents and luggage went ahead by camel, and my father's staff went on horseback. My mother traveled on the back of a very quiet she camel, sitting in a saddle made from an easy chair with a sunshade over her head. She took her books and knitting with her to pass time as she rode along. My father had a big male camel, a very powerful, willful animal who would usually only be controlled by two able bodied Sindhis. But my father was so strong that he would sit me behind him on the camel, tell me to hold on tightly, take the reins, and off we would gallop. And I did not fall off. Camels run very smoothly. This camel was almost white, and I remember that he had some colored beads and a beautiful woven collar with tassels around his neck. I also remember standing in front of him when he opened his mouth. His tongue was huge, and so were his teeth, and I was both frightened and fascinated.
Just to interrupt, anybody's ridden a camel here?
Yeah, I have. In Jaisalmer.
I mean, till you ride it, you really don't know how complicated the ride is, right? It's a very, very uncomfortable ride. It's it's not. I mean, maybe horses are better, but camels you're just being thrown around all over, and it's such a ungraceful thing to sight to look at, right? But it's so fast. It's a very, very swift animal, actually. And if you walked in the desert and then see a camel and sit on a camel, you see that the way nature designs. I mean, sanskaras lead you to evolve and understand how to deal with the sand so well, and you're so swift in the sand, whereas you and I cannot even walk. Right? So just thought I'd share that.
Absolutely, Karthik, and it is scary.
Yes, it is scary sitting on a top of a camel.
Being in
servants,
Dubai,
yeah.
you must be riding the camels, right? Do you ride camels? Do you go to office in camel?
I think you're referring to Dubai of Baba's time, where probably camels were there. Now Dubai is as modern a city as anywhere, right? So you have
Oh my
everything, and
God.
you can't even
Yeah.
see the desert view anywhere. It's like a concrete and glass monstrosity. Right, Kama, dubious Dubai, right?
Is Kama here?
Yeah,
he
he's
is.
quiet. He's absolutely quiet.
My God, Kama, where are you, man? You son of a gun.
I'm at a wedding, I can't go.
What? What are you doing?
Wedding in Chennai. Relatives wedding.
We missed you, man. I want to fight with you. It's a long time. I miss
Chalo.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, continue.
Continuing. Our
Our
servants,
servants, yeah.
yeah. Correct. Servants pitched our tents ahead of us. Such lovely tents they were, all decorated with scallops and tassels, with windows and furniture and carpets, and a separate drawing room and bedrooms too. The kitchen tent was separate. My father was a good shot, and often he would shoot a deer for our cooks to prepare, and we always shared. It with all of those with us. We took a gramophone along too, and at night we listened to music. I still recall a number of incidents when we were camping in forests and jungles that made a strong impression on me as a child. I cannot remember the name of the nearest town, but I especially remember one night when we were camped in the jungle. Every night, a blue enamel jug of milk was kept near my father's bed in the tent. Before going to sleep, he drank most of it and then put the jug back on his bedside table. This night, we all went to sleep, but in the middle of the night, suddenly in the dark, something hit me on the head and then bumped my mother. My mother started to scream, and so did I. What a commotion! Everyone was running around in the dark, and we could not see what it was. We finally managed to light the lantern, and we saw a big wild cat running inside the tent with the enamel jug stuck on its head. He must have been attracted into the tent by the smell of milk. He had put his whole head into the jug, lapped up the milk, and then found he could not get it out. The poor cat was frantically rushing around with this jug on his head, and no one could hold on to him. My father rolled up the canvas door, and eventually the cat felt the fresh air and ran out with the jug still on his head. Next day, my father, feeling worried about a trapped cat, sent out servants out to look for him. Under a tree near a big stone, they found the battered jug. The cat had managed to bang the jug on this stone until it was free, so we were happy that the cat was safe.
I think that looks straight out of Tom and Jerry. Yeah. So, any last volunteer to read? I think we can rotate at this point. Just to Krishna. Sunil is here. Nomita, you want to read?
Jai Baba, next week I will read. Right now I'm walking.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Sorry about that, Jai Baba.
No problem.
Forgive me.
Okay, then I will read, or Ravi can read if there's nobody jumping in. I will continue. My mother was not fearless like my father, and at night in a dark, thick forest, she would feel frightened. My father had a water spaniel, and when tigers caught his scent, they would circle around and around our tent, roaring. Naturally, my mother was terrified, but my father would tell her, just go to sleep, it's all right, nothing will happen. My mother would reply, but they're so near the tent, they might rip it open and come in. So my father would comfort her. He was never afraid of anything. At another village in a forest, my father heard of a thief who was stealing from the poor villagers. This thief was a tribal person who lived in the forest and who came out in the middle of the night to steal. One night, my father and one or two others waited in the little village, and somehow, in the middle of the night, my father caught the thief. He was tied to a post on the veranda of the forest officer's tiny office until morning, and in the daylight, everyone saw how strong the thief was, how brave my father had been to tackle him, especially when the thief could have been carrying a knife. Our tent was not very far from the forest officer's little office where this man was tied, so I walked across to see my father. What fascinated me was not the thief, but a huge black scorpion that someone had hung up on the same veranda by a piece of string tied around its tail. Its pincers were enormous, and so was the stinger in its tail. In its pincers, it held a fairly thick stick, which the scorpion turned back and forth. It was so strong, it could hold the stick without dropping it. Often, when we were on tour, we would go together for an evening stroll in the surrounding forest. One night, we were just returning to our tents when we heard a rustling in the dry leaves on the ground. My father knew at once that it was a big snake, and he told my mother to take us children and the dog back to the tent. My mother tried to stop him, but he did not listen to her. He did not even have a stick, but somehow he managed to kill the snake with a rock. Then he picked it up with part of a branch from a tree and brought it back to our tent, where we were waiting with hurricane lanterns for him. My mother was horrified. Why have you brought that thing back here? Throw it away, she told him. But my father wanted to show us the snake poison sac. So despite her protests, he opened its jaws and pointed them out to us. I was very young, but I remember that snake's fangs and poison sacs very clearly. And my mother looked into the snake's mouth too, even though she did not want to. Like this, she gave my father loving companionship. I also remember that when he was on tour, my father wore leggings to protect his legs. Leggings are like long leather socks which cover your legs from the shoe tops to your knees. They wrap around your legs and are fastened on by buckles. When my father came back to our tent feeling very hot and being in the forest, he would sit in a folding chair while I sat at his feet and unbuckled his leggings. I loved doing this, and I was very proud of myself. I'm sure we have all seen that kind of clothing as standard uniform provided by the British to forest officials. Finally, my father was transferred to the Junagadh district in Gujarat, and while we were staying there, my sister and I were sent to boarding school in Pune. I was 6 years old. My father had wanted us to be educated at home with tutors, but my mother was afraid that with their love for us, they would spoil us. So we were sent as weekly boarders to the convent of Jesus and Mary in Pune. On our school holidays, we came home. We had a nice two-storied government house at Veraval. It was in a beautiful spot overlooking the ocean with just a little open ground between it and the beach. My sister began piano lessons at school, which made my father very happy. I was very young and I began lessons later. Because my father was always on the move, we did not have a piano, but my parents had some European friends who had one, and on holidays we visited these friends. On their piano, my sister would play the tunes she had learned, and I remember that my father's favorite one was Home Sweet Home. Our neighbors in Veraval were a Christian family, and amongst other children, they had a daughter just 1 year older than I. I remember that in the evenings, the servants would bring some chairs outside, and these neighbors then joined us there for games and conversation. They had a son too, who was of college age. His name was David, but I could not pronounce this, and instead I called him Devil. The children loved to frolic on the beach, and Devil used to put me on his shoulders, then carry me out into the sea. What fun it was. My father was very sportive, and he wanted to teach my mother how to swim. She, however, was not very keen to learn, and they would squabble lovingly about it. Then, to please him, she would go in just to her waist. In the mornings, we children used to walk along the beach. In one direction, the beach gradually became rocky, and there we had to gingerly pick our way. One morning on our walk, we saw something moving amongst the rocks. We didn't know what it was, but somehow we managed to catch it. Very excitedly, we carried it home and showed it to my mother. It's a crab, she told us. But what am I going to do with it? Take it down to the cook. The cook was very happy with our present. But why bring one? He said to us. Bring me more. More? We asked. How can we catch more? So he showed us how to make a little lasso with string and how to catch the crab's pincers with the loop, then pull it tight. Back to the beach we went. My sister and I managed to catch another 6 or 8 crabs, which we brought home in a pail with a little sand in it. We handed them over to the cook, and he made us a delicious crab curry. My father, when I was 6, gave us our own ponies and taught us how to ride. And I remember when I was tiny being put on an elephant too. So As a child, I rode elephants, camels, and horses. I loved to ride my pony along the beach in front of our house. We always had servants with us to look after the horses, and one day I galloped away down the beach. I can still hear one of the servants shouting after me, "Stop, Mary Baba, stop." He was a Muslim, and they called children Baba. While we were at Junagadh, my father also took us up a mountain not too far away from where Baba later sat in seclusion. It is called Girnar Mountain, and living there in caves are holy men with long hair and nails. We left very early in the morning, and my mother and some of our guests were carried up in sedan chairs. It was a steep climb, and we all, except my father, stopped at a rest house and temple on the way up. He climbed up much further and visited an even higher temple. He was always full of energy and never tired. Just a few final memories from my early childhood. I remember how my father saved his bearer's wife. They were a Muslim couple and very faithful to my father. She was a nice young woman, and one day she was outside walking in some grass. A poisonous snake suddenly bit her. My father knew that he had to act very fast, and he also knew what he had to do. Quickly, he made some cuts across the snake's bite, tied a tourniquet of handkerchiefs around her leg to stop the poison circulating in the blood, and put some potassium permanganate on the wound. She was very fortunate that my father was there because she did live. And I remember too how my father saved some villagers. Around Junagadh, the forests are very deep, and once some people from a nearby jungle came running to my father saying, "Oh, please, sir, there are some tigers who are stealing our calves and goats and sheep. This is a great loss to us. Please kill the tigers." So my father had a hide built in a tree, and he waited there for the tigers to come. He was a sure shot and managed to shoot these man-eating tigers and save the villagers and their animals from attack. So brave was he that once he even went into the forest alone after a wounded tiger, pounded it in its lair, and shot it that it would not suffer. He shot these tigers not for the sport or for love of shooting, but to help the poor. These are some of my early childhood memories. My early years were very, very happy ones. We had an interesting, carefree life full of love and adventures. So, what are all the places that Mehra was till now? So, we heard that she was born and lived in Sukur. Then from Sukur, they moved to Junagadh, and now she's coming to Pune. Right, 1915 to 1921 is the Pune phase. Right. Any thoughts?
Also Veraval.
Yeah. So Veraval is it an area or is it in
That's
Gujarat?
also a place. Yeah, Junagadh
Gujarat?
and Veraval included. Yeah, Gujarat.
Okay.
So,
Correct. Thank you.
Karthik, I had these numbers 1915, 1921. So this number 7, of which Dr. Kama mentions or has said that our life changes every 7 years. So it's interesting. See, from 1915 to 1921, 7 years.
Well, it's 7 years if you count both years. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I know, arguably 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the thought you said. What?
Sure. I'm just pulling your leg like always.
Okay, it's okay. It's absolutely okay. I mean, I wish you pull more because then I'm just hoping against hope that my height increases.
It's a good comeback. Okay, so we have just about 5 minutes, so we'll probably start the Pune section next Saturday. We are doing discourses tomorrow morning, same time. I need a volunteer to open the meeting because I may be a bit delayed. So whoever is ready can reach out and I will share the credentials for opening the meeting and also tell you from where we start and what we do, right? So any volunteers for tomorrow? No volunteers. Come on. Okay, so if there are no volunteers, then I nominate. So, is it Ashok or is it Sunil or is it Kama? I'm meeting Kama later in the day, so I will probably make it Kama. If I need, if Kama is not available tomorrow morning at 7:30, I'll probably reach out to someone else today. How is Shiva feeling? He was not well when I spoke, exchanged texts with him in the evening. I hope he's feeling better now.
Getting better, Karthik.
Yeah, you don't sound good. Please rest. Don't worry about today. Resting and getting ready for next week is more important. So rest it out. Yeah. Anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, one acronym which I came across. We had the word fear. So I want to just elaborate that. False expectations appearing real.
Who came up with this?
I just came across this. So I just
False expectations appearing real. So Maya creates fear.
Yes.
Karthik, could you please send me the PDF of this Mehera book, please?
Sure. I will not send
Hello,
it.
Jai
You'll
Baba.
have to find it. Jai Baba, I heard you. I will not send it. You'll have to find it on Trello. You have an assignment. So I'll show you what.
Trello पे मिलो.
No. Milo, Deco, Trello. So right here. So if you look at the Trello board, this is the trust link, the 3 books separately. And this is the combined book, which will have today's annotations as well and annotations as we make it. I will post the Trello link again for you to see. And as a favor, I will send you the PDF. I'm just making the point that all of this is available for everybody.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely, Karthik. And you've also recorded how to approach the files in this session.
Yes, so filtering is another feature that we saw for discourses. Apart from filtering, you can do a text search anywhere, right? So tomorrow's, let's say we're doing sanskara. So you just search and immediately these are all the places where sanskaras appears in any of the boards. So, I mean, it makes everything so much more easier that you have this tracker, right? So please feel free to explore it, change it, use it, and make it a more enjoyable journey as you learn. As you learn to move from Jivatma to Shivatma. Right?
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up? There's the dainty lady with her umbrella out in the Singapore sun.
Yeah. I think all of us have to get used to Trello. We'll have to get used to it.
I have my gun out. I'll shoot you. You have been exposed to Trello the most. The others are new. You have no excuse. I think the person who's going to train you is Mamaji. He's got comfortable.
Yes. When is he? When is he coming back?
He's back next week. So I think if not next week, I think surely the week after he should be joining calls. I think he's traveling next weekend.
Wow.
Oh, it's not the sun, it's the rain.
It's the rain. And bon voyage, Karthik.
Yeah. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to some Baba connections and meetings there. Like I'm meeting Pavan, I'm meeting Rajesh. Rajesh is not on the call today. Yeah, maybe he's not there. Rajesh is Sunil's brother. And of course, I'm meeting Sunil and Norm next weekend. So, yep. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Where is Rajesh nowadays? He never comes anymore.
I will stop recording, but we can hang